midwinter sunset, there is another side to this season, like the one of 1962-3, when farmers, unable to negotiate deep snowdrifts, wept as their animals froze to death in the fields. The snap of frail bones as an elderly neighbour slips on the ice. The grim catalogue of deaths of the homeless from hypothermia. Winter is as deadly as she is beautiful. A walk through the snow. It started with berries, holly, rowan, rosehips. A project to record the plants, edible and poisonous, that we spotted on our walk to school. 2 miles, in my case, of hedgerows to inspect daily. Hardly a project for me. I knew those hedgerows intimately, each tree and ditch, every lichen-covered gate. I knew which had wild sweet peas, Lathyrus odoratus, or primroses hidden by twigs, and where to find a bullfinch's nest. When you walk the same route every day on your own, you get to know these things. A tree you must duck to avoid a soaking if it's been raining during the night. The progress of a slowly decomposing tree stump among the grass. A bush that delights with a froth of wild blossom in spring, that by autumn is a mass of purple-black berries. You get to know the site of the sweetest blackberries and the exact location of the wild violets, white and piercing purple, that twinkle like stars in dark holloways. Even then I knew that hedgerows were sacred, the homes of birds' nests and voles, hedgehogs and haws. I knew that the long, slim rosehips came from the single wild roses that are to this day one of my favourite flowers, along with the hawthorn. I knew too that my father's name for hawthorn was bread and cheese, an ancient reference to the usefulness of its leaves and berries in winter. I also understood that the scarlet berries of yew and holly were never, ever for consumption. It was the berries left behind in the winter that held a special fascination for me. The darkening rosehips and hawthorn berries seen against a tapestry of frosty leaves. The solemn beauty of ivy and hypericum berries against a grey wall, a rosehip trapped in ice. Walking was part of my country childhood, a solitary one, but by no means lonely. Not that there was any choice. My father drove back to the Black Country during the week. We had just 4 buses, 2 on a Wednesday, 1 there, 1 back, and 2 on Saturday. A bike, you say? Not up the steep hills that surrounded Nightwick, with a gym bag and a leather satchel full of books. There were always books. We lived on the border of 2 counties. Home and school were in Worcestershire, the nearest shops in Herefordshire. The walks were wretched in summer, sweaty and hateful, full of stinging nettles and sunburn. But in autumn and winter, each day was an adventure. I rarely got home before darkness fell. There was a moment, a patch of barely half an hour, when the sun would burn fiercely in the winter sky, just before it slid away, that I regarded as unmissable, something I had to be outside for. It was the walk to school that started everything. A life lived with the rhythm of the seasons, not purely the food. Miles from a supermarket or a greengrocer, we ate more seasonally than most. But the outdoors too, the landscape, the garden and the market, the sounds and smells that mark one season as different from another. By the way, I kept that school project, neatly written in fountain pen, its berry-studded exercise books covered in dried leaves and curls of old man's beard, for almost 20 years. Like pretty much everything I owned, it was destroyed in a house fire shortly after I moved to London. Getting to grips with the season. Winter is caused by the movement of the earth, the dark winter months appearing when the earth's axis is at its furthest point from the sun. For all its bare twigs and pale, watery sunshine, winter is very much alive. Underneath the fallen leaves, things are happening at a rate of knots. New life burgeons. Bulbs are sprouting, buds are bursting through grey bark.